I knew I wanted to be a teacher for a very long time, and I knew very early on, like, teaching was going to be my activism, and that was going to be how my efforts to try to make this world better, in particular for students of color. And that's how I position myself as an educator, and that's how I told them straight up, like 6th grade orientation, teaching is my activism. What is activism? Let's research activists, because the stakes are too high to just stick with what I was taught and stick with what we're required to teach. And like, there's work to be done. My last unit for 6th grade social studies is putting Eurocentrism on trial for violating our learning about the Middle Ages. So I try my best to make sure that we're always talking about people of color. And if people of color are missing from the history that we're learning, why is that, and what should we know about them? So like in my 7th grade class, today we were starting to work on this project. So we would learn about the American Revolution, and we watched this, decent video from the History Channel on the American Revolution, but the purpose of watching it was for them to take notes on who's missing from this narrative. So they're going to start to do some research on a particular group of people that they still don't know about. So a lot of them are looking at people of color. What were Black people going through during the American Revolution? What role did they play? What role did Native Americans play? No one's even mentioned Latinx people. So like, what's going on at this point? So it's important that in my curriculum, my students are critiquing the system that I'm also critiquing by being the teacher that I am. First thing I had to do was figure out, what am I supposed to be teaching? So what is the curriculum? What is the New York City scope and sequence for 6th and 7th grade social studies? So looking at that and looking at the units and the schedule that they put in forth, and okay, so how can I make this so that it matters to my students? So I've kind of taken each unit and put a little spin, my own spin on it, by analyzing the power in every civilization that we're studying, in every situation. So like the very first unit was like, what is 6th grade social studies? What does it mean to be a scholar? What are our community agreements? But then also introducing them to the idea of activism. And we researched straight up activists presently working. So we had lots of presentation. They did the research, they did presentations on Black Lives Matter and National Organization of Women and all these different groups that I curated for them, but also let them kind of explore Muslim advocates, stuff like that. So from there, I wanted them to see, okay, this is one form of activism, and this is one form of exerting power, but then how else have people done that throughout history? Because you don't have to be walking with marching down the street to be the activist. Like, that's not the only way to be an activist. So we're setting up, and now we're really getting into, okay, power that people have over the environment. And like the Neolithic Revolution, how was that revolutionary? How is that activism? Classical civilizations, and studying the different leaders and how they're inciting conflict and how the people respond to that conflict, and what power does religion have? What power do religious artists have in communicating the meaning behind the art? So constantly looking at the power and articulating the power that people have is very important, because I want them to know that they have power. Like, I'm not giving it to them. You have power. You're a regular person like these regular people were in ancient Mesopotamia. What power did they have? Okay, what power do you have? So yeah, taking what was given and then going beyond the basics of that information, going beyond the basics of classical civilizations and ancient civilizations, and really diving deep and analyzing what's really going on there. So I also do project-based learning. So every unit ends with a project, 2 to 3-part project. There's always some writing component, but there's always some aspect of creating, because it's very important to me as well. It's very important that I honor the multiple modalities and multiple intelligences that are in my room, because that's something I firmly believe in as an inclusive educator. So at the beginning of each unit, it's all, and this is something that I've been wrestling with, it's always kind of a little bit more traditional schooling with, here's background information, we're watching a video today and taking notes on it, but then I keep reminding them, okay, we need this basic information so that we can then critique it, and then we can use it, and we can create something from it. So as soon as a project is introduced, and I always give them lots of choice, it's just a workshop, and there's crazy things happening. There's paint, there's clay, there's videos, people are acting things out. We are doing dramatic performances, we're doing readers theater, like there's so much. It's fun, like we have a lot of fun. And I think it's because this analysis of power and this question, like I'm telling them to question the things that I'm giving them, the information that I'm giving them, and I'm always reminding them that, like, this is your education, and I don't want you to be a passive learner. Like, I don't want you to just take what I'm telling you. Come at me, right? Do something with this. Think about this. Do you agree? Is this fair? Making it, I make even the boring stuff, like the Neolithic Revolution, have something to do with them. Like, I need them to recognize that there's something at stake for them. And they seem to be digging it.
Good, good.